homeschoolers. We are here today for customizing your homeschool through pieced together curriculum and unit studies. This is the same seminar that was seen at the Tampa Bay Homeschool Conference in July. It just didn't record well, so here we are. Anyway, you're going to learn how to create your own curriculum based on your child's needs, learning style, and interests. We're going to piece together materials from various means to create a customized educational program. Then you're going to learn how to create your own unit studies by adding hands-on projects and experiences for more in-depth, defined, and exciting learning opportunities. So my name is Stephanie, and I run one of the largest homeschool communities in the Tampa Bay area, Gulfside Art and Science Academy. I have been a professional event manager since 1999, and through GASA, I share that experience to bring homeschoolers in Central Florida educational field trips, classes, and mentoring on a volunteer basis. I'm entering our 7th year of homeschooling with my youngest child, and before homeschooling, I was an active volunteer teacher assistant at my children's schools, both public and private, for nearly 20 years. So to me, homeschooling is finding our own path, traveling our own journey, inspiring and fostering a lifelong love of learning, engaging and cultivating her interests and talents, and enhancing every day through real-world understanding, and teaching and learning through immersive experiences. It's the freedom to teach your child in the way that best suits them for their personal learning style and to enjoy life to the fullest. So as a homeschooler in Florida, you can make or choose your own curriculum materials. You can educate through immersive, hands-on, experience-based learning. Learning can be child-led and schedules can be relaxed and flexible. You do not need to use a specific curriculum or a boxed set. Neither the learning approach nor your schedule is defined by the school district. You are the teacher, you are the principal, you are the administrator. So again, we're in our 7th year of homeschooling now. My daughter Sedona is in 8th/9th grade. I know that sounds really weird to you new homeschoolers, but we'll talk a little more about that later. We had no issues with the schools personally. We chose to homeschool more out of a travel necessity for my husband's job. That was 2nd grade. We planned to do it for about a year, and within 2 months, I knew that I could never go back to a brick and mortar school. It took my husband a little longer to be convinced, maybe even a couple of years, but eventually he was convinced. For you new homeschoolers, don't worry. We are all nervous when we start. We all have our doubts and fears. Most of us thought we couldn't do it. In fact, I know there's some people on my Facebook friends list who are like, how the heck is that C student teaching that poor child? You can do it. The best advice I was ever given as a new homeschooler, I'm giving to you today. And that is, you only have to be 1 chapter ahead. Trust me, there have been many days that this is absolutely true. So on that note, I once posted these exact words to Facebook. I never thought this would be easy. Some days it is. Some days it's like riding a rampant buffalo backwards with no saddle through a fiery field of Legos during a hailstorm. Yep, we all have days like that, even those of us who are blessed with 1 easy child. So here are my 3 simple steps to homeschooling. 1, every day is not easy, but every day is worth it. 2, again, you only have to be 1 chapter ahead. You don't need to know everything. You just need to know where to find it. And 3, if you have a bad day, take a break. You are the teacher. It's your class. You make the rules. So now, customizing your homeschool curriculum. Why? Why not just buy that boxed set? Well, each child has different learning styles, and when Sedona was about 3 years old, long before I was homeschooling or even thought about doing it, A family member once said to me, "Not everything she does has to be about learning." And I stopped and I was like, what? That was the strangest thing I had ever heard somebody say. Because for a 3-year-old, literally everything is about learning. That's what they're doing at 3. So it was at that time that I knew I wasn't doing exactly the right thing for her. It would be about 4 more years before I'd started homeschooling officially. And like everyone, I was scared. I was scared I would screw it all up. But then an already seasoned homeschooler told me, "You are already homeschooling her. You just don't even know it." And I thought about it. I really was. So during my first year, while struggling to find our way and learning this new way of life, someone else on Facebook said those famous words, "You only have to be 1 chapter ahead." Wow, those words stuck with me, and I think about them often, especially through the algebra years. So we all have doubts and fears. For me, I take this job extremely seriously because I literally hold her life in the palm of my hands. That sounds pretty scary when you think about it that way. But that said, learning can come in so many different forms, and it is unique to each child and their learning style. So once you figure that out and you find your homeschool groove, which is going to be an ebb and a flow, you'll grow in confidence, I promise. So in public school, they're made to conform to one learning style. It's a one-size-fits-all program. But that is not true. Not all kids process or retain information the same way. We need to meet our child where they are, and it's easier than you think. So there are 4 most common learning styles. Visual, which obviously is through sight, and those children learn best with diagrams, charts, pictures, symbols, and various images. Auditory is through listening, of course. They prefer lectures and discussions, audiobooks and songs. Reading and writing, it's just that. Those kids like glossaries, they like taking notes, textbooks, lists. And then there's the kinesthetic. They learn through their 5 main senses. They're more physical and learn through hands-on experience, incorporating labs and manipulatives and tutorials to help them learn. So there are some subcategories. Social, children who learn best in groups, quizzing each other, group projects. Solitary children, those who like to be alone, take their own notes, reciting things back to themselves, studying alone. Verbal, those children like learning rhymes and acronyms and songs and spoken word. And then the logical, those kids learn best with numbers and statistics, and they do well with facts. They like order. So my guess is that you saw your child in at least one or even more of these categories. This brings us to the different homeschool methods, which is another reason why you might want to piece together your curriculum. So the most common homeschool methods, one of them is unschooling. This is child-led. There's no formal structure here. It's emphasized by natural learning and curiosity of the child. Unschoolers don't necessarily sit down with curriculum books every day, but they might have some workbooks in a basket for the kids to grab as they please. And of course, they have other books around. They might go to the grocery store and learn math through working at the grocery store. Different things like that. The unit study method, this we used to really love. It's a great choice for multi-age children too. This method uses themes to plan your child's learning through a variety of activities and lessons, and we use this a lot. So I'm going to talk about unit studies later. Charlotte Mason, that's known as the living books method. This method uses a lot of literature and has a heavy emphasis on art and nature. Then there's the eclectic method. This is really us. It's a relaxed method that focuses on your child's learning style. This can look completely different for every family. And then there's road schooling, which is exactly what it is. You're taking your classroom right into the car. So a lot of these busy families are using this method with audiobooks and DVDs, lap books, and different things they can do in the car on the go. And then the Montessori method. This method is child-led based on interests. And the Montessori method encourages exploration with intentional materials in the classroom area. It places an emphasis on hands-on learning and developing real-world skills. The classical method is widely used in the Christian circles. This method is concrete thinking and memorization. A lot of songs are used. Classical conversations is one that is popular. Then there's the structured method. This is textbook-based homeschooling, and it is closest to the public school system. So internet, online schooling would also fall into this category. It's actually the least popular with true homeschoolers, as it is the closest thing to public school at home. And then there's the Waldorf method. And that is an educational style that's holistic and intended to develop their intellectual, artistic, and practical skills with a focus on imagination and creativity. So there are so many ways that we can homeschool our children. We at home, we have an eclectic style. I feel that we are a strange mix of my old Catholic school upbringing, very strict, as well as unschooling. We use a mix of books, workbooks, documentaries, with tons of hands-on activities and field trips and unit studies. From early on, I allowed my daughter to guide me in her learning. She chose unit studies of things that she was interested in. She even chose which workbooks that she would do. She liked certain brands and how they were laid out, so I let her choose those. In the younger years, I focused on the 3 R's, reading, grammar, and math. And then she would always pick 2 additional subjects a day that she would like to do. She would choose history, science, art, culinary, whatever interested her that day. She's starting 9th grade now and has never opted for online learning. She still prefers books. She even prefers books over documentaries, which still cracks me up, because I will tell you, as a child in the 80s, when that VCR came rolling in the classroom, I was more than happy to put the school books away. So anyway, obviously her learning style is based more on books and field trips and hands-on activities. Obviously, the older she gets, the more structured I've become, a little more each year. So my theory is the world is our classroom. You'll sooner forget what you have read than what you have experienced. Don't just read about it, see it, taste it, hear it, and hold it in your hands. As Mark Twain once said, don't let schooling interfere with your education. And that has been very much a guiding light in my homeschooling. So, if you're not going to buy a box curriculum, where the heck do you start? We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. Most, if not all of this, has been done for you. It's not about creating the pieces. It's about finding the pieces that work best for you and making them your own. Let's break it down. Let's also be honest. Sometimes finding the right curriculum is a game of trial and error. The first year of homeschooling is usually just that. And that's okay. That is one of the best reasons to not buy a boxed curriculum. You don't want to feel tied to something that you invested a lot of money on, and you and your child both end up hating it. Additionally, you will find that your child is likely at different grade levels in different subjects. There are no required grade levels in homeschooling. So you teach to your child's ability, whatever that is. When my daughter was younger, she might do 4th grade in math and 3rd grade in science and 5th grade in grammar, whatever the case. She always had different levels of workbooks going on. So find out, pay attention. How does your child learn best? Do they enjoy computer work, or do they prefer books and workbooks? Do they like hands-on activities? What does your child need to know at every grade level? And if you're not using a box, how are you going to know you're doing the right thing? All right, so I highly suggest checking out this website. Go to Google and type in World Book Typical Course of Study. For all you older people, you might remember World Book encyclopedias. Yes, it's them. World Book Typical Course of Study. Look that up on Google. That's going to bring you right to their website, and you will see every grade level and what is basically expected nationally for the children. You could look at Florida standards or your state's local standards, but you'll probably want something better than those. I would go to the World Book site each year and I would say, okay, so she's supposed to be in 5th grade, but I'm going to look at 4th grade and make sure that we've hit all those things and that she's successfully learned those. Okay, that's great. She's at 5th grade. Does she know all these? And I would kind of go through those. Well, sometimes she knew a lot of that. So then I would go up to 6th grade and pull things from that. And that's how I would create the list of what I wanted to cover for her each year. And you can find those on my website. There'll be curriculum guides for each year that I did with her. It's a really good way of making a nice plan for your year, just scrolling through and seeing each subject what they need to learn statistically. All right, now that we know what we need to learn, how do we build this customized curriculum on our own? So we mix it up. And it morphs and changes through the years as your child grows and develops in their own learning style. And then we find things that we prefer over others. So this is part of child-led learning. So keep in mind, keep on hand various workbooks in each subject, big hardcover coffee table style books, books on science, history, social studies, various subscription boxes, my list of go-to websites. I'm going to show you that. So here is my list of go-to websites. This will be at the end of the video. So I always keep that on hand, as well as other fun things that we can put together. In the earlier years, I did a lot of unit studies for almost everything. It made learning so much more fun. So first, I invested in lots of those really nice hardcover coffee style table books. Those books are just really last a lifetime. The Smithsonian, Nat Geo, those are my favorites. I also bought the smaller Nat Geo children's books too. Both last for years. They are good to use over and over again through elementary and high school, and adults love them too. They have tons of science and history books that are colorful and fun to read, and they go with every subject, and a picture is worth 1,000 words. I love pictures. Okay, so second, I would buy workbooks in various subjects: science, social studies, reading, grammar, math. I have lists on my website for each grade level that I used personally. The only subject we really did in order was math. I would go through each workbook and use Post-it notes and paper clips to mark off various subject areas. We're talking high-tech stuff here, right? So oftentimes the workbooks will have sections with a few pages on each subject. So to build on that, I would then gather more information on the subjects through various websites, some that I have listed here in my favorite lists that I showed you once before, library books, documentaries, etc. So let me just talk about a couple great websites that are on this list. Ducksters.com. That one, they have tons of information on countries, social studies, geography, and history. Readworks.org. That's readworks.org. They have reading passages on every subject, it seems. You can print them by grade level, and you can even add vocabulary or comprehension questions. This is great if you have kids in multiple ages, because you can read the same thing and have questions at different grade levels. K5 Learning. K5learning.com was one of my big go-tos. I used that daily for math and spelling and reading and comprehension sheets. There's some really awesome websites there on that list you'll want to go through. Again, I'm going to put that at the end of the video, but it's also on my website. So after gathering various workbook pages, big colorful books, printed information from various websites, I would add other fun things too, like documentaries, hands-on projects, experiments, subscription boxes to round it all out. So for the subscription boxes, I would save them to match a certain unit of study. We did Little Passports World Edition, science boxes like Kiwi Crate, Mel Chemistry, Spangler Science, as well as Universal Yums and some others. And a lot of times I would take them and say, okay, we're going to do an Egypt study. And I would put it aside with all my Egypt books and my other Egypt things, just as an example. So now you have a fun unit study. Books, workbooks, documentaries, subscription boxes, hands-on projects, experiments, cooking, baking. Let's not forget field trips. What about visiting a local restaurant to go with the country you're studying? Yeah, we do that too, along with all the other field trips. So I did this so often and made so many unit studies that my daughter actually started creating her own. When she was about 8.5 years old, she came to me and said she wanted to learn more about China. She came to me prepared. She had books and a movie and a suggestion to go to a Chinese restaurant. So, of course, I said, all right, let's do it. So we did that. But Mom, of course, gathered more information to make it a more complete unit study. And we did a unit study on China. We've done this with other things, but this became a common occurrence in our house. It's something that sparked interest. So we turned it into a unit study. So now that we've talked about child-led learning and all the ways that you can find and piece together great curriculum, free, cheap, paid, let's review how to make a unit study. So 1, you choose a subject that's interesting. 2, explore books, poems, other materials. Go to the library. 3, watch documentaries, movies, YouTube clips. 4, do worksheets, projects, lap books. You can print them out from a great website or make your own. 5, create. Make it fun. Add crosswords, word finds, coloring, crafts, art projects. 6, get hands-on. Make a poster board, cook a recipe, do an experiment. And 7, experience. Go on a field trip. Eat the food, hear the music, use all of your senses. So I'm going to put this again at the end of the video. This is the Creating Unit Study flyer, and it is also on my website. So to get you started, I have several free unit studies on my website. I didn't write the information. I do not own the information. I just found it and compiled it all together, and I do list the resources in the back of the unit study. They're all PDF. They are all free to download. So it will get you started. I have unit studies on a few different things here. Some of those free unit studies are Systems of the Human Body, Florida History, England and the UK, Japan, Germany, Ireland, Newton's 3 Laws of Motion, St. Augustine, Florida, Frog Dissection, Italy, France, turn the page, and some other ones. There are also videos on the countries showing entire immersion study for each country. And there's also various other things on there that I'll talk about later. So some other helpful downloads would be, there's a guide to Florida history field trips, and that goes great along with the unit study. 150 famous landmarks in the world. Equivalents for fractions, decimals, and percents. It's more of a basic, but it's a good equivalence sheet. A My 50 States report, the template with printable pages. A lab report using the scientific method. Mastering the 5-paragraph essay. There's also a basic writing guide for young writers. High school transcript template in Excel form, and an introduction to the APA format for writing papers and essays in high school. So now that you're creating your own curriculum, how do you know your child is actually learning? So testing. Testing is a dreaded subject. Testing is really a touchy subject with homeschoolers. Some are really against it and some are all for it. So, do we test? I've got a flyer on that too, and it's also on my website, just with some information for you. So the answer is yes and no. We don't test on any regular basis, no. But if she gets something wrong, she has to redo it. So we teach to mastery, and we spiral back often, especially in math. So in the past, when she was younger, spelling has been the only exception. We did do regular spelling tests, kind of like they do in school. We do, however, do a standardized test every year. We do not have to do them. We do not have to show them the results to the school district or anyone. It is solely for our own purposes. And here's why. Test taking is a life skill. Please remember that. Test taking is a life skill. So we test it for several reasons. One is to make sure that she's on track at or above grade level. Granted, I could tell you where she's at from in every subject from what we're working on, but it's nice to have an outside third party of sorts verify that. Number two is to find the areas that we need to work on. I try to be thorough in what we cover, but things get missed and they get glossed over. And quite frankly, we don't teach to the test. We don't teach things at the same time the public school teaches them. So she might walk into a test and go, oh, I didn't know any of that. Well, we're doing that next year. It doesn't matter. But it's nice to see where she's at and what we are missing or ahead on. So third is for the test taking practice. Test taking is a life skill. She's going to have to do tests for college entrance, whether it's the ACT or SAT, the PERT. It's also likely that her entire life she could have to take tests for her career of choice. I want her to learn solid test-taking skills, as well as become comfortable with test-taking process in general. My husband's a hotel manager. He still takes tests. I was a travel agent. I still took tests. If you're a nurse, you probably still take tests. If you're a teacher, a real estate agent, I mean, I can think of a million different careers that people take tests all the time. So truly, it is a life skills thing. So how do we know when to move our child up to the next grade level? So I think everyone is different here. I personally base it on completion of materials that I have chosen for each subject, understanding or mastery of the material, and standardized testing to see where she's at or above grade level in that subject area. To some, I'm strict. To others, I'm too loose. So it's all relative to your personal style. If you're working with them daily, you really do know where they're at and you know if they're ready for more. So what will you find on my website? You're going to find tons of free resources and information. What you will not find on my website is ads. If you see links, it's because I personally place them there. No one else advertises on my website. I can't stand websites that are all ads. The links that are there are resources that we have actually used over the years and that they've been tested, they're tried and true. So what you will find is lists of curriculum that we've used for each grade level and sometimes links to purchase. You will find video links to my homeschool videos about field trips, science experiments, immersive education, cooking, things like this, and so much more. You're going to find free resources such as the unit studies I've created on various topics, as well as other helpful printables like some of them I've shown you today. You'll find lists and links to free resources to print worksheets and use online programs. You'll find information on portfolio evaluation and how to create a portfolio, and I have a video on it as well. You'll find information on your letter of intent if you haven't done that yet. So those of you from the Central Florida area, just so you know up front, GASA, which is Gulfside Art and Science Academy, is not a school, a co-op, or a business. I do not make any money from the field trips and classes that I manage. I manage these events on a volunteer basis. All the information on my website is free to download. I'm not here to sell you anything. You can join my field trips for free too, unless, beside the cost of the field trip itself. I have no fees to join my group or anything like that. Just follow GASA on Facebook. So it would be Gulfside Art and Science Academy on Facebook. And you could also follow me on YouTube at Steph Dozier. It's STEF-DOZIER, Steph Dozier. And I'll put all of this into the video link information. And I'd like to just thank you for attending today and listening to what I have to say about Piece Together curriculum. I want to remind you that all of these will be at the end of the video, as well as on my website. So my website, in here, there's also a kindergarten and first grade. This is a great one, because do you need a curriculum? No, you don't. Check it out. And I'll also put my list of field trips. This is all Florida field trips. There's probably 150 of them there. Anyway, you can visit my website. It's stefsevents.com. So it's STEFSEVENTS.com. Steph with an F. stefsevents.com. And on the right-hand side in the pull-down menu, at the bottom, you're going to find Gulfside Art and Science Academy. That'll bring you right to my Gulfside page. So thank you very much. Have a blessed day.